Welcome on into the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. We've got another 2026 AFL season preview coming up today. It's the North Melbourne Kangaroos. We're going to be going through everything you need to know about the Roos heading into 2026. We'll be running through their last couple of seasons, how they went. We'll be having a look at all the ins and outs for the Kangaroos in the off-season. We'll be looking at the depth chart, the best 23, and we'll finish up with a fixture analysis and maybe just some thoughts on where we think the Kangaroos will finish their campaign in 2026. All of that coming up. As we've done for every other team in the AFL, we're working our way alphabetically. This is like number 11 or 12 that we've done. So go check out the rest that are already up on the YouTube channel. There's still about 6 or so to go after this one. That will be all up by the end of next week. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Plenty of football content every day, basically, at the moment. Not just here on the YouTube channel, but all over social media. So search it up, All Aussie Rules, go find it. I hope you enjoy this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm sure you won't agree with it all, but keep an open mind. And yeah, let me know your thoughts. Let's jump into it. That's what we're here for. Last season, 16th place for the Kangaroos. 23 games played, obviously, as every team that didn't play finals did. 5 wins, 17 losses, and that one draw against the back-to-back premiership team in the Brisbane Lions. Points for the season, averaged 78.5 points per game, which isn't too bad. I think it might be a slight drop on the year before, 78.5, which was the 13th most in the competition, so not as bad as their position on the ladder, but defensively they did struggle to stop teams scoring again this season. Not for the first time over the last few years. 102.8 points a game against. Only one of 2 teams that did average over 100 points against per game. 17th in the competition, so that's certainly an area of issue and concern that the Kangaroos need to keep working on to try and shore up this defense and maybe stop conceding quite such big scores. When you're conceding that much, it's hard to win games. The last 5 seasons have not been great for the Roos. And if you're looking at that, you're going to project them coming 16th. I'm not saying that, but 18th, 18th, 17th, 17th, 16th. Logic says 16. So yeah, 16th last year, 5 wins. Not a great year. 17th the year before in 2024, 3 wins, 20 losses. Exact same story in 2023, 17th again. And 2022, they won 2 games, winning the wooden spoon. Shouldn't say winning the wooden spoon, finishing wooden spooners. And 2021, 4 wins and a draw, also finishing 18th and getting a wooden spoon. So it's been a rough little 5, 6, 7 year period for the Kangaroos. There's no doubt about that. They certainly need to find a way to improve and maybe start moving up that ladder is their number one priority right now, because they have been down in the depths for way too long for any team to be happy with. Certainly a team that isn't coming from success beforehand. At least when you look back at like Richmond and West Coast, the other 2 teams that have spent the last couple seasons down low on the ladder. Richmond obviously won the 3 premierships between 2017 and 2020, and then West Coast won the 2018 grand final. So both of those 2 teams had a premiership in like the last 10 years, whereas the Kangaroos, it's 26 years now, 27. So yeah, they certainly will be wanting to find some way to start rebuilding this club, because it's probably taken too long in most people's eyes, I think. Looking at the ins and outs, just the 4 ins through the off-season. Charlie Spargo joins them as a free agent from the Demons. Pick 16 is Lockie Doverston, who I think will go pretty much straight into this team if he's fit and ready to go, because small forward that looks the goods. Hopefully he lives up to the expectations there. Blake Threadgold, pick 26. And Hugo Mukunda is pick number 48 in the national draft. Leaving the team at the end of last season, we got Finbar Malley, who got traded across to Adelaide after only playing a couple games for the Kangaroos last season. Delisting a lot of players here. They lose Miller Bergman, Cullen Dawson, Eddie Ford, Geordie Payne, Will Phillips, Bryn Teakle, and Darcy Tucker, all getting delisted from the Kangaroos at the end of 2026. So not a huge amount of ins, quite a lot of outs. Ever-changing team, really, the Kangaroos at the moment, and they're just trying to get games into these young players, continue trying to move up the ladder, I guess. Obviously, captaincy change. Jai Simpkin no longer captain. Nick Larkey takes over that role. I think that will suit him quite well. So we'll see how that plays out. But there's some positive signs, I think. Whether they're as bright of positive signs as perhaps some would want, maybe not, but we'll see. Depth chart. If you're new around here, even if you're not, we will do a quick explanation on our ratings here. So we do a rating for every single player, for every single match, which then goes into their average, which is that 2025 rating. That was their average last season, which gives them a position ranking based on the position that they played most. Top 10% is purple, so they're the elite players, top 10% of each position. 10 to 25% is your blue, which is your top class. 25 to 40 is above average. They're green. Average is 40 to 60%. They're yellow. And then orange is 60% or below. And then you've got red, were on the list last year and did not play. And your pink, anyone that was drafted in the off-season. So weren't on an AFL list last year, but are now. And looking at the colours in this back line, it's not a great story for the Kangaroos. If we're being completely honest, nobody in above average or better categories in the back line. They do not have one player that rated in the top 40% of their position in the back line last year. So that is a massive concern. There are some young players here that you would expect will move up that list. But as it is at the moment, it's not great reading. Caleb Daniel joined the team last season for his first year at the Kangaroos, and he was okay. He wasn't super spectacular. Ranked 55 in that average category. They probably wanted a little bit more from him. Luke McDonald, Colby McKercher. Colby McKercher probably going to see a bit of more inside midfield time this year, I'd imagine. He certainly looks, I think, better in that role. Riley Hardiman, Jackson Archer, Finn O'Sullivan, I think, will be a very good general defender. Possibly even this year. Obviously, high draft pick last year. First year, he showed enough. I think we'll see a decent-sized improvement from him this year. Zach Fisher, unranked, and Josh Gota did not play. And then your key defenders, another area that's really not the best rating. Charlie Coburn was their highest rated at 32nd best key defender in the competition. Toby Pink, 46, Griffin Logue, 49, Aiden Core, 52. So they're all very similarly ranked and just not putting up big enough numbers as it is right now. Will Dawson and Matt Whitlock did not play much football between them. And Blake Threadgold, obviously, picked 26 in the draft, so was not on a list last season. Moving to the forward line for the Kangaroos. It's better reading this. It's still not spectacular, but it's certainly better reading. Paul Curtis, fantastic season. Career best year. Was absolutely outstanding. 6th highest rated general forward in the competition. I could see him being number 1 this year. Hopefully, for Kangaroo's sake, hopefully for Paul Curtis's sake, that is true. I think he's someone that will be pushing towards All-Australian in 2026. Behind him, Zurha, pretty good. As a second general forward, not too bad. Charlie Spargo joins the team from Melbourne. They'll be wanting a bit more of some higher numbers than that, what he produced last year at Melbourne. Then you got Cooper Harvey, Constanti, Hansen Jr., Dersma, and Banch. All, however many of them there was, 5 or 6 players. They need more from at least a couple of them this year to really move up. It's the hardest role in football is playing a general forward in a team that's not playing great football. it's hard to be consistent. It's hard to get your opportunities, but when you get them, you're going to have to take them. George and Stevens did not play last year, and then Mukunda and Doveston are your two draft picks. I think Doveston will be the one that comes in. I am interested to see how this forward line will line up. I think it's, on paper, a solid enough forward line. It's not spectacular by any stretch of the imagination, but once we get to the key forwards and you see Nick Larkey, Jack Darling, Cooper Trembath, all three of those, chuck in Paul Curtis, Zerha, and Doveston on the field, I think that's a pretty solid six. Then you have maybe Spargo and Constantine, or Harvey or Hanson Jr. as your bench players. It's not a terrible forward line. It certainly reads better than their back line, in my opinion. On key forwards, Nick Larkey was rated as top class again last season. He's a fantastic key forward. It'll be interesting to see how he goes against, once the team starts winning a few more games. Obviously, he's been stuck on this, I'll say stuck, but at a team that's been way down the bottom of the ladder for multiple years now, and still gets pretty good returns at kicking goals. So we'll see if the Kangaroos do start winning more games, if that equates to Nick Larkey kicking more goals, but he's a number one target for them. He's now their captain, and it'll be interesting to see. Jack Darling had his first year at Kangaroos last year and performed as well as I think anybody could have hoped he did. 38th best key forward is not spectacular. If he can move that up to just into the above average category, that would be huge for them. If he could be around about 30, I think they'd be pretty happy with that. And Cooper Trembath only played a couple games, rated really highly in those games. So we'll see what that means for him going forward. I don't think we can expect him to be coming out of the gates and doing anywhere near that sort of average for the season. But if he can be serviceable, get lots of games into him this year, potentially end up somewhere around about that Jack Darling level, maybe even take over number 2 key forward. That will set up this Kangaroos team for the future quite well, I think. So keep an eye on Cooper Trembath this year. Moving into the midfield, inside mids is probably where they're most stacked, if we're being honest, the Kangaroos. They certainly have a lot of players. As we said, Colby McKercher from the back line might join this midfield this year. As well as that, they've got Luke Davies-Yanaki, who was ranked 26th last year. Harry Sheasel, who many people argue is very, very good midfielder. He's certainly racks up disposals, set an AFL record last year. He's 37th best, highest rated inside mid last year. He'll continue to get better. I'd be surprised if he wasn't in the top class category at the end of this season. There are a lot of good midfielders in the competition, though. Luke Parker, in his first season as a Roos, was very solid as your third or fourth inside mid. Played the role pretty well. Jai Simpkin, he rotates through inside mid, outside mid, and also general forward. He's not a world beater. He's not going to be as one of their number one midfield options. He's a rotation player at the moment, I think, and that's probably where he's going to finish. He did kind of contemplate leaving Kangaroos at the end of last season. That never ended up eventuating, but we'll see how that plays out. George Wardlaw, still pretty young. We'll see him potentially improve again a little bit. Tom Powell, another young midfielder, and Luke Urquhart didn't play. Outside mids, Dylan Stevens and Bailey Scott, both in that below average category. We didn't see great numbers from either of them last year. And then in the ruck, Tristan Cherry was ranked at number 3 last season as a ruckman, behind Max Gawn and Tim English in our ratings. Really good year from him. I don't think the change in the ruck rules will hurt him too much, so I would imagine we'll see another massive season from him. Him and this midfield starting to get more and more reps into them, with LDU, Sheasel, and McKercher, Parker, Wardlaw, all these people coming through. Can start to see some improvements, I think. We'll see if that eventuates, but I think midfield's probably their strongest area of the ground. They still probably aren't even within the top 10 midfields in the competition, but it's certainly not as disastrous on paper as some of the other areas, mainly their back line. Maybe their forward line's actually their best area, if I'm being completely honest. Behind Tristan Cherry is Callum Coleman-Jones, who I think only played one game last year and may have got injured within about 2 minutes of coming on. I could be completely misremembering that. Taylor Goad did not play. He's probably third option, let's be honest. And yeah, that's the midfield. We'll check out the best 23 as I drew it up. And yeah, let me know your thoughts here. Have I made any blues? Please let me know. First of all, full forward line. We've got Paul Curtis, Nick Larkey, Cooper Trembath. I think that's a pretty solid full forward line. Half forward line, Zerha, Darling, Spargo. Less solid line, but still Zerha, Darling, I think are solid enough. I think we need to see a bit more from Spargo in his first year at the Kangaroos and see what he can do. Your wingers, I've put Simpkin and Dylan Stevens. And then inside mids, well, Ruckman, Tristan Cherry. And then inside mids, Davis Yanak, Harry Sheasel and Colby McKercher. Half-back line, I've gone Hardiman and Daniel as your running backs and Logue, centre half-back. Full-back line, McDonald, Coburn, Pink. As I've said multiple times in the last 10 minutes, the back line is a concern in my eyes. Interchange-wise, we got George Wardlaw, Ben O'Sullivan, Luke Parker, Tom Powell, and Luke Doverston. Overall, it's a team that has plenty of potential. If they can get some of these young players really improving and taking that next step, there's no reason why they can't really shoot up the ladder. I can't see this being a backline, though, that is a team that's going to win a final, in my eyes. Maybe this backline does improve heaps. Maybe. We'll see. Final thing to look at for the Roos is a fixture analysis. A look at their fixture for the year. They play 4 home games, 8 away games, and 11 neutral games throughout the season. Obviously, games in Victoria against other Victorian teams are considered neutral. So 14 games in Victoria, 3 in South Australia, 3 in WA, obviously selling off a couple games there to WA, 1 in New South Wales, no trip to Queensland, 1 trip to Tassie to play the Hawks, and 1 trip to the ACT. They have a bye in opening round and another bye in round 12. The teams they played twice, they have been looked after here. West Coast, who finished 18th. Richmond, who finished 17th. They, I think, are the only team in the competition that do play both of those teams twice. Could be wrong. That might have been made up, but I think it's true. In my mind, it's true. I'm going with it. Let me know if I'm wrong. Essendon, who finished 15th last year. Port Adelaide, who finished 13th last year. Geelong, who were the runners-up last year. And Sydney, who finished 10th, but are expected to improve. So, Geelong, Sydney, those two are tough. The rest, maybe not so much, because I don't know if there's much improvement in any of those 4 teams. West Coast, Richmond, Essendon, or Port Adelaide. Maybe one of them shoots up. I'm not confident in any of them, though. So, draw-wise, Kangaroos have done all right here on paper. So, it comes up in my ratings as the 14th hardest draw difficulty. So, for those interested, it was in one of my podcast episodes late last year when we did a fixture analysis. And we went through how we came up with it, but it basically takes into account who you play and where you play them. Obviously, playing a team at home is easier than playing them away. So getting the right teams at the right grounds affects the difficulty rating for your season. A 1500 would be an even season in terms of difficulty. Kangaroos have a 1490, so quite a few points under average. For example, the hardest draw, according to that system, was Gold Coast with a 1517, so quite a lot harder than the North Melbourne Kangaroos, who had the 14th. So on paper, they have some very winnable games. Can they put that into fruition? I guess we'll find out in not too long, because we're only a few weeks away from the AFL season kicking off. But I'm not confident that they're going to be good enough to get to top 10 this year. I think anywhere from probably 12th to 15th is probably where they finish, depending on a lot of factors internally and externally. Injuries for them and other teams, and a whole bunch of things can happen. I think it's still another rebuilding year if they can put together some good games into some players, get some good improvements, and then maybe pick up a player or two next off season. I still think they need to do something about their backline. I could be completely wrong about that. I might have misjudged it all, but I might be treating them too harshly. But on paper, it looks not great for them in the backline. That's everything I've got for the Kangaroos, though. Let me know your thoughts. Have I been too negative? Potentially. I personally would like to see the Kangaroos jump up the ladder. I don't know if we'll see it, though, just yet. But yeah, let me know in the comments below. Let me know about the best 23. Let me know about the depth chart. If I've made any blues or you agree with stuff, let me know. I'm interested in it all. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you like this video if you haven't already. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already as well. Plenty of content every single week, including 2 podcasts that go live Monday and Thursday or Friday, depending on the week. Every single week on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. There's plenty of social media stuff around as well. Search it up, All Aussie Rules, you'll find us. Yeah, thanks for joining. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll be back with another one very soon, and I hope to see you there.